since we're all about action on this podcast, some tactical things that you can actually do each and every day to make more progress towards being a happier person on a consistent basis. Here are what actions you can actually take. And Arthur proposes this practical 7-point summary. 1. Do not fall prey to seeking pure happiness. Instead, seek lifelong progress toward happiness. I've mentioned that a couple times. It's something I deeply learned from just living life and the pursuits that I've had, and also from studying Arthur Brooks and Carl Jung and things of that nature. Seek lifelong progress toward happiness. There's no there, right? Even though you do a bunch of work, you're never going to be exonerated from the work. It's about continuously improving and seeking progress over time. If I want to be married for as long as I possibly can until the day that I die, I've got to make lifelong progress towards being the absolute best husband I can be, to adore my wife, to make myself admirable to her, and to do things in a progressive basis. And I think that's really important when we're thinking about our life. That's why we want not just satisfactory work, like Carl Jung said, but meaningful work. That's why we want to take care of our eating well, of moving well, of sleeping well, of thinking well, because it's progress towards happiness. It's not pure happiness. I'm there. This should make me happy for the rest of my life. It's lifelong, continual progress towards happiness. And then number 2, as best you can, manage as best you can the main sources of misery in your life, by attending to your physical and mental health, maintaining employment, and ensuring an adequate income. Yes, catastrophic things are going to happen, and not all of this is always going to be consistent and easy and fluid. Of course not. That's why Arthur Brooks says, which I stumbled over, manage as best you can the main sources of misery in your life, right? If you build this foundation of eating well, moving well, sleeping well, and thinking well, then you have at least that foundation built if you lose your job, or you don't have adequate income at the time, or things are just a little inconsistent, right? And also, because of those eating, moving, sleeping, and thinking well habits, you're also actively participating in some voluntary suffering, which allows us to arm and combat ourselves for the involuntary suffering, which is potentially losing a job, losing income, losing a loved one, whatever source of misery comes your way. We have a way of managing it better than if we didn't have these foundational layers of physical and mental health and these really strong habits and these things of that nature. And I think that's really important to understand, because there will be that involuntary suffering. And what can we do actively to voluntarily suffer, or to do hard things that armor us for those miseries or those challenges of life? And then we move to number 3. If you're earning enough to take care of your principal needs, remember that happiness at work comes not from chasing higher income, but from pursuing a sense of accomplishment and service to others. This is really important. Once we reach that base level of income where we can take care of the things that are most important to us, instead of chasing more and more and more and more and more and more, because it's not going to fill any sort of void that you potentially might have. It's just going to make that void bigger and more exaggerated. Why not pursue that sense of accomplishment and service to others? Becoming that best version of you is an intrinsic motivator, along with being in greatest service to the world. Those are the powerful movers that are going to keep this seeking of lifelong progress to happiness going, and allow us to feel more purposeful and meaningful at work. So when we get home, we're sort of excited to talk about it. Work energizes us rather than drains us. Depending on the day, all of that stuff could change. But I think majority, based on the research from Jung and Brooks and all of these people, this is what is most important. And then 4, cultivate deep relationships through marriage, family, and real friendships. Remember that happiness is love. That's a beautiful, beautiful statement there from Arthur Brooks. Remember that happiness is love. We have to have great relationships. They're the cornerstone of living the good life. Everything in life is way better with great people around you that you absolutely love, through marriage, family, and real friendships. I absolutely love my best friends who've been in my life since college, where I met them playing baseball. I've been there for the good, the bad, everything in between. Like outside of my wife and my mom and my dad, they are the first people I want to tell when something good or bad happens. I mean, I'm probably the luckiest man in the world that I grew up with two incredible parents, Mark and Lori Machbitz, who are absolutely unbelievable, the best parents I've ever seen in my life. And I'm thank God every day that I have them. I also have an unbelievable wife and I have great friends. Like there's nothing in like it's unbelievable how amazing that is for me, and I just want to insist on that you can develop that in your life too. But you have to go out there, you have to face rejection, you have to talk to people, you have to explore ideas, you have to present your authentic self, even if it's scary, even if someone might reject you for who you are. Don't shape shift into something else, because then the friends you have aren't really friends of you. They're friends of this version of you that you're trying to shape shift into to fit into this mold. So be you, live by your most important values, express your authentic nature, and find your tribe of people. Whether you're trying to get married or just build great friends, or reconnect with your family, remember, as Arthur Brooks says, that happiness is love. Remember that happiness is love. And if we want to live the quote unquote good life, which I've mentioned here 1,000 times in different ways, we've got to have great health and great relationships. And the good life is a lifelong pursuit of progress towards happiness. And then you have number 5. If you have discretionary income left over, use it to invest in your relationships with family and friends. I mean, that's just a stamp of approval on that last one. If you have discretionary income left over, use it to invest in your relationships with your friends and families. Use it to invest in great experiences with them that will last a lifetime. That's the most important thing we can think about. Not much else to say on that because it's pretty straightforward. And then we move on to number 6. Spend time in nature. Surround yourself with beauty that uplifts you, and consume art and music that nourish your spirit. I mean, get out there and experience what life has to offer outside of a screen. Yes, you can find some beautiful things on the screen, right? You can see some stuff that you're not even close to that's so beautiful, that's so clear, but get out there and experience it. Touch grass. Go for a walk in your neighborhood every day and see what different things you can see and think and attach to and connect to, right? Listen to beautiful music that uplifts you, that makes you think, that's emotional, that's connected to something deeper than you. Go look at some art, whether you like paintings or this or that or weaving or whatever the case may be. Like, allow that to nourish your spirit. We get attached to these certain things, but we don't see all of the beauty that surrounds us. I'm an optimistic person by nature, and people can become more optimistic. It's just a mental skill that you can develop and grow. This idea of the fundamental belief that things are going to work out for the best. And the most optimistic people I know are the most high performing people I know. And they allow their surroundings and beauty and nature and art to uplift them and nourish their spirit and give them energy and allow them to continue being that best version of themselves in greatest service to the world. And so spend time outside, spend time in nature, look at flowers and trees and go for hikes and see the things that are breathing, because nature is living all around us. It's part of us, and see what that feels like to really be in that, to breathe into it, to allow it to nourish you and uplift you and engage with your spirit. And I think that's really important, according to Arthur Brooks and the research, and also according to my own lived experience and maybe potentially your own as well. And then number 7, last one, find a path of transcendence, one that explains the big picture in life and helps you comprehend suffering and the purpose of your existence. We have to have something to anchor us to faith, something that we can, put our back up against the wall when things get hard, that we can anchor us to and know that this is the way we have to move forward, because this has got our back and we can move forward one tiny step at a time. We also want to know that it's bigger than ourselves. Like I mentioned my athletes before, we want to play for something bigger than ourselves. And we also want to live for something bigger than ourselves, something that connects us to faith, something that connects us to a higher power. Find that path of transcendence, so it helps us comprehend suffering and the purpose of our existence. So we're not just floating around here on this rock. We actually know that we can move forward towards progress of being more happy, because we have that will, because we have our purpose of existing, because the world needs us here. It needs you specifically here, because there will never, ever, ever, ever be another you. There will only be this you. And that's so powerful. That's why the world needs you here. Your mistakes, your challenges, your setbacks, your failures, your successes, your everything that you bring to the table, the world needs you here. And we can find that through that path of transcendence, whether it's a spiritual practice, a religious practice, a contemplative practice, a meditative practice. There is a path towards transcendence to really know, to really feel inside of our bones that the world needs us, you here, individually expressing that best version of ourselves in greatest service to the world. And so those are that's the 7-point summary of actions you can take on the 5 pillars that Jung mentioned about happiness, and that Arthur Brooks sort of stamped on based on modern research and modern science. And then we have actually 7 practical actions you can take day in and day out to make this lifelong progress towards happiness.
Thank you very much for tuning in to that clip. If you enjoyed it, then you'll love the full-length episode right here. Right here. Click it. Go ahead.